Hi, it's Lathia from Farmview Creators. Today we're going to work on the Christmas Mini Interchangeable Signs from the RustCoveredCottage by Christina. These fit beautifully in her interchangeable frames, the beaded frame or the shutter. We're going to start with duck egg and just do a coat of that on two of the backgrounds. On this one where it had the scored shiplap, I am going in and cleaning out those scored shiplap lines because I don't want them to be hidden. Then I'm going to get my other backboard and get those really dry. This is a mineral acrylic paint from Couture. The mineral acrylics have a built-in top coat and they go on very smoothly, especially if you paint with the grain of the wood. So I put my second coat on and now I'm just cleaning out those score lines yet again. And after it dries this time, we are going to go in and give it a little bit of a sanding. So on the other two backboards, I'm going in with Pacific Pearl, which is a really beautiful, just pure white. Giving that a light coat, painting in the direction of the grain, and then getting it dry, giving it a second coat. The second coat, I always go a little bit heavier, just in general, and then let those dry. You want to make sure you don't have a lot of paint built up on the edges. Sometimes that happens anyway, but you just need to sand it off so that it will still fit inside of your frames. You could also put these on easels or anything like that. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint all the pieces that need to be white with that same Pacific Pearl. And I will do two coats on all of these pieces. For the Pacific Pearl, I am using a brush because I already had my brush with this color on it from painting the background. But on a lot of the other pieces, I will switch to a makeup sponge. For Santa's face and nose, I am going to use French Rose. It's another mineral acrylic, and I used my tiny little sponge that is actually an ombre nail kit from Amazon. I mean, like $5 and you get 100 little sponges and the metal tool to hold them with. On the Mulberry red, I am using just a makeup wedge. I snip off the dried portions of them and use a clean cut edge to this. I do rinse them after I use them, so sometimes I don't have to trim, but if I feel like the end of the sponge is a little crusty, I will trim a little bit off. But you can get multiple uses out of the same makeup sponge, and they're super cheap. And they work really well to make sure that you have that super thin coat and that it does not goop up in the crevices. So there you could kind of see the little plastic box and kit that comes with this ombre nail kit. I mean, it's super convenient. It stores all nice. And I mean, I even wash these little sponges and use 2 or 4 sides of it before I feel like it's getting too broken down to keep using. And I'm using my dotting tool to put the berries on the holly. And then I'm using that same makeup sponge to go in and get Santa's hat, which I almost forgot to paint, but then I saw it and I was like, okay. Now I'm going to use my micro sander with a fairly high grit sandpaper and just giving that a little sanding, and then I'm going to go in with my dotting tool and add some dots across one of the duck egg backgrounds. I'm really loving this mulberry red. It's just a really deep antiqued kind of red that I just like. So for the body of the reindeer, I'm using Madagascar Mocha. Again, another Couture mineral acrylic. And then for the antlers, the nose, and the hoofs, I am using Espresso, which is a really, really, really dark, rich black coffee color. Exactly like its name. And I am doing 2 coats very carefully. And I just simply switched out my sponge off to the side between those 2 colors. And then I'm going to go in and grab Santa's eyes with Pitch Black. I did not do a second coat because Pitch Black is just so great of a black that a lot of times you just don't need 2 coats on that one. Now I'm going to go in and I just kind of dabbed on Sheer Bliss, which is a sheer metallic, to give those snowflakes lots of shimmer. I'm going in with my white Posca pen and just adding some accents, drawing along some of the curves, and then putting some dots just to add a little more detail to it. I'm going to get all of that really, really dry before I go in with my Debbie's DIY Dark Wax to Distress. I use a cheap stenciling brush from Amazon for this, and I just reload whenever I feel like it's not giving the look that I want. If I get too much on there when I reload, I can just wipe it back with my finger or even a baby wipe if it's way too much. And then, of course, I'm going to use my Dead Flat top coat. Takes out all the shine and gives just an extra layer of protection. I am really into the matte look, so this is perfect for me. And I just give a light brush across all the pieces and then make sure that it dries really well before you go in and assemble. So I'm taking all my pieces off my sticky board and I'm going to arrange them how they're going to go across all the little backgrounds, just to make sure that I am happy with the look for each of them before I go in and glue. And then that little Santa piece and his nose did not want to stay in my hands, nor did the little puff on the end of his hat. But I love how it turned out. I'm going to go in with my art glitter glue. It's my favorite glue. It does not make your fingers crusty. You do have a little wiggle room with the pieces when you put them down before it sets up. But when it does set up, it's a really strong, clean, crisp bond. The paint does dry clear if it kind of smooshes out behind, especially, you know, little pieces like those snowflakes and such, and that bow, it might smoosh out, and of course these letters. And so I'm kind of wiggling it just to get the light to hit, because there are score lines where these letters go, and that really helps because I cannot make anything straight by myself. I always have to double check with rulers and things like that. So I really want to make sure that I'm seeing those score lines and getting these letters lined up how they're supposed to be. And that's another reason that I love the art glitter glue and the fact that I can wiggle it around as I go. Just getting that Santa all put together. I was a little worried about him being on the white background, but I actually really love the clean crispness of that one. And I love how they turned out. I cannot wait to put them in my frames at school. There they are in the sunshine, and there they are in 2 of the interchangeable frames. That was the beaded frame and the shutter frame. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.